I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. We're sponsored by The Human Being in Newport and Lincoln City. And today I'm excited to be here with Samantha Buckley. She is the emergency management manager, hierarchy, princess, queen.
Sure, I'll take both.
Emergency management director, how's that?
It's just that works, Kiera. We love it.
All right, so Samantha, for those who don't know you as well as I do, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the emergency manager of Lincoln County, and I've been in this role for just a couple of years now, about 2.5 years, and prior to that, I was in the assistant emergency manager role. So I've been with Lincoln County for a bit now, and I'm really pleased to be here. I'm happy to be in Lincoln County. I'm happy to be in this job, and happy to be here with Kiera today. So
tell us a little bit about what your job is and what you do with emergency management. There's a lot that you cover.
Yes, we do a wide variety of things, but one of the biggest things we do is respond to and prepare for large-scale disasters that happen in the county. So we write a lot of plans. We have an emergency operations plan. We've worked with contractors and community partners to do our natural hazards mitigation plan. We're currently writing a medically fragile sheltering plan. So we have lots of planning happening all the time for how we will prepare for and respond to emergency situations. And then when an event happens, we stand up what we call the Emergency Operations Center, which is here in this office. And our team comes in and we coordinate the response effort, specifically supporting pieces of the response effort for an emergency. So for example, if we have a fire, we're not out fighting the fire. We're in here sending out evacuation notices, talking with Red Cross about sheltering and where we want to put shelters, and coordinating to set up a call center through the county, working with our local city partners to see what kind of support they might need. So we do more of that support piece for community members and for our cooperating partners like cities and organizations.
And the part that I love most is the communications, of course, because, that's me. That's what I do.
Yes.
And we communicate very well together to provide information to citizens in the event that there is an emergency.
Yes. And we have lots of ways to communicate. We communicate through obviously the regular means like social media, online. We use our friends at the radios to sometimes put things on the radio, but we can also send text message notifications to cell phones, and we can do those for individuals who have signed up for our Lincoln Alerts program. They opt in, but we can also send something called a WIA alert. So even if you haven't opted in, if it's a big enough emergency, we can still ping your phone. And that's just a system that emergency managers across the state have. Again, it's called WIA, Wireless Emergency Alerts, and they use cell towers to do that. And we would only do that in a big emergency. So typically we use Lincoln Alerts, and we encourage everyone to sign up for Lincoln Alerts so that you can get those notifications. And those are something you can opt in for on our website.
And those notifications are really important, especially for kind of maybe the smaller scale local emergencies like we had this winter. It was a fairly mild winter.
I know.
Knocking on wood.
Please.
But we still, even during a mild winter, we still did get a lot of rain all at once, which caused some flooding and some landslides. Let's talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. So we would use Lincoln Alerts to notify folks about the weather incidents like the flooding and the high rain we had this winter. And those things would be location specific. We did send out an alert about the closure of 229 so that folks could plan accordingly once that slide had come down and blocked 229. If they used that as a primary transportation route, that went out via Lincoln Alerts. So we have tried really hard to ensure that Lincoln Alerts is used to let people know about things that are occurring actively around them. And you put your address in. Well, you can put your address in. You are not required to when you sign up for Lincoln Alerts. And then those notices are sent sometimes using a map. So if it's something that's location specific, We can use a polygon on a map to say, okay, everyone that lives within 4 miles of this is going to get this notice, or however we want to do it. It's dependent on the event, obviously, and we've tried to really keep those alerts to be things that are urgently happening now. So we don't want to blow your phone up with lots of text messages about things that aren't super important.
And what's also really important regarding emergency management, of course, which is one of the reasons we're here talking today, is preparedness and educating the public on how to be better prepared. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we've been trying to do more outreach this year. So we are running a speaker series this year where we're having subject matter experts come to Lincoln County and do presentations for the public. And we have our last one coming up on April 23rd. That's going to be in Lincoln City at the community center, the rec center. Not the cultural center. There was a little confusion. The one on the north end. And it'll be at 6 p.m. And we're going to talk about wildfire preparedness. We'll have subject matter experts from the Oregon Department of Forestry and Oregon State University Extension Office come talk about wildfire mitigation strategies, how you can prepare yourself, your home. We're going to learn a little bit about the science of wildfires, which is really cool. And this one's really neat because we also have a sponsor for this one, which is Pacific Power. And they will be there providing some snacks for folks. They'll have information about how you can prepare for Pacific Power, for your power sources specifically. And it's going to be a really nice event, I think. So,
and that's important to have now.
Yes.
Before we head into fire season.
Absolutely, right? Yes. You want to be thinking right now in the cool weather of April about how you're going to be prepared for a potential wildfire. And so sometimes when we talk about wildfire, we talk about making sure that you have enough space around your home if you are a homeowner, so that you have something called defensible space, and you can learn a lot about that online. We also want people to be prepared should they have to evacuate for a wildfire or really any emergency. And some of that includes making a go kit, which you can have ready to go to put in your car or already in your car. We also have some new preparedness resources that were put out by Oregon Department of Forestry. Well, they were put out in conjunction from a variety of organizations, but the media release was put out by Oregon Department of Forestry, and it's called Know Before You Burn. It's a website and an app you can get on your phone where you can check any restrictions and regulations that are location specific regarding backyard burning. So this is specifically about, okay, I want to do some backyard burning. I want to burn some, of the debris here. And what am I allowed to do? When am I allowed to do it? And that tells you specific based on where you live. So it's a really cool resource.
Love that.
Yeah. And they just put out the media release for it a couple weeks ago.
So that's really going to help local fire departments as well.
Yes. Backyard burning it can be a cause of wildfire in Oregon. And so we want to make sure that people are burning responsibly and that they are aware of any restrictions that might be in place, especially as we enter the dry season.
So in regards to preparedness, we also need to still think about tsunami and earthquake preparedness because it's not a matter of if, but when.
Correct. Yes. And we just had our friends at Oregon Department of Emergency Management and DOGAMI, which is Oregon Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, do some presentations for our communities called the Tsunami Roadshow. They started up north and then they went south down the whole coast, and they gave presentations for folks about the science of tsunami and earthquakes and how to be better prepared for those types of events. They also had weather service there that talked about how you would receive those alerts in an event. So it was a really great presentation, a good refresher for our communities about this hazard that we should always be kind of aware of and what you can do now to kind of prepare for those things. And of course, we always tell people that you will not receive an alert from us if it is a localized earthquake. So if we're going to have a local tsunami, yes, and the ground is shaking, you should go to higher ground. Absolutely. And if we have a distant tsunami, we have a little more time. So you will get a notice from us, especially if you are on if you live on the beach in the tsunami zone.
And of course, we have the emergency alerts again through radio. I work with a lot of the radio stations, and you have the emergency alerts as well, so people can get information that way too.
Yep, we have the EAS system, emergency alert system. It's in a similar vein to the WIA system, the wireless emergency alert systems, lots of alerting systems. And the EAS system pushes out to our radio partners, and we test that. We push a test out every other month, but they test it weekly on an automatic cycle.
All right. So let's talk about the importance of having a go kit, especially again coming up on wildfire season. You never know when a situation is going to make it so that you have to leave your home quickly. What are some things that folks should have prepared in their go kit?
Yeah, great question. So we recommend that folks have some water and food in their go kit, and we have a couple different ways that we talk about this. So when we're thinking about a Cascadia event, so that's the large earthquake, we encourage people to be, they say 2 weeks ready. On the coast, we say 4 weeks ready for a Cascadia event. So you want to be able to be at home and take care of yourself with food and water and whatever other supplies, medication, right? Warm clothes that you're going to need for up to 4 weeks here on the Oregon coast.
And let's clarify that in the event that that happens, there's a good chance you're not going to have electricity.
Correct, yes.
So it'll be much like our ice storm that we had, where you're at home, you're not going anywhere. It's going to be kind of a camping.
Correct, yep, you're going to be camping at home. So think about what kind of comfort items you might want to make camping at home a little bit easier. And that can be, it's super dependent on the person, right? Some folks like to have a generator. You will likely not be able to access gas to refill that generator, but it can get you through some time to charge your phone, maybe to charge if you have a small refrigeration device you want to use to keep medications cold, right? Mm-hmm. So thinking about some of those things and how you might manage if you don't have power for an extended period of time. We also have really encouraged people to talk to their neighbors and create neighborhood groups. We have different ways that people can do this. There are resources online for something called Map Your Neighborhood, where you go door to door and you kind of get to know your neighbors, maybe what skills they have. Maybe your neighbor has a generator and your other neighbor has a fireplace, and you can work together to keep medications cool and keep each other warm, and sort of knowing who in your neighborhood is going to be able to do what things so that you have a community to lean on when this event happens. Anytime we have an emergency, it's challenging because we are a culture of a lot of independence, right? And it can be challenging to lean on each other. But when you have an emergency, it's really important that you lean on your neighbors, on your family, and on your community so that you can all get through it a little bit easier. And that's, I think, really helpful for folks.
And having a supply of shelf-stable foods is also something that's really important, right?
Yes, absolutely. So shelf-stable foods, but think too about foods you might actually want to eat. So I think we always encourage people to get the kits with those bars that are like a whole meal in a bar. And those absolutely will get you through in a pinch, 100%. However, if you're going to be here for weeks with no power, you're not going to want to live.
Get bored with the bars.
You're not going to want to only eat bars. Exactly, right? So think about what you might actually like. So I love canned tuna. I love it. And I always keep some extra canned tuna, right? It's something I know I'll eat. I'll eat it straight out of the can.
It's a good source of protein. We do the same thing. Yeah. We go to Costco and we get the canned tuna and we get the canned chicken.
Yes.
So
excellent.
We have a source of meat.
Yes.
In the event that we need it. But it's also important to have that can opener.
Yes, correct. You want a manual can opener. Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about, maybe your kids like a particular type of granola bar, right? Maybe you have a family member who's gluten-free. Think about some of those things and what can you store that you'll actually, eat and maybe not totally hate, right? For a few weeks at a time, maybe even enjoy, right? And how will you make that work and kind of think through your family and what will work for you?
I think if there was ever, God forbid, an emergency, my grandson would have to live off of goldfish because
Goldfish are delicious, right? Goldfish and tuna. I'm golden. I could do it. I could do it.
Like, there's lots of different things. There's, the cup of noodles. We take those.
Yes, yep.
Those are good to have, like, in your emergency kit in your car, because it just requires some water. You don't technically have to heat it up.
Yes.
And of course it's better if you do, but, worst case scenario.
Right. I mean, thinking about roughing it a bit can help, right? So, I like to do some backpacking, and sometimes we do cold soaked oats, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the most delicious breakfast of my life, but it gets me through, right? It's a good packed with fuel, good fiber, and it can really tide you over. And so kind of thinking through some of those things can be really helpful. We also have obviously camp stoves at my house, which is what I think that we would use as a person who rents. They're smaller. You can pull them out. You can use them to heat food up in an emergency. But some people have grills. They can also work for cooking things in an emergency and kind of pull you through. And then obviously we would encourage people to know how to build a fire if they need to cook something over a fire as well.
Yeah, we have the smaller propane portable grills that we have, and then we have an outdoor grill, which during the ice storm when we lost electricity for 2 days was how we heated up water. And it was the first thing the next morning. My son was like, "Oh, are we gonna do coffee?" I'm like, "We can do this."
Yeah,
I've got the percolator. I've got the camp percolator.
Absolutely.
We're just going to put it on the grill. But that's another point, is that it's important to have that propane and have that backup propane.
Yes.
So that you're prepared. You're prepared and you're ready. Now, when you talk about water and taking water to go, water can be pretty heavy.
Yes.
So when you're talking about putting together your go kits, how do you recommend doing the water situation?
Sure. Yeah. So again, this goes back to thinking about different types of go kits for different situations. So for Cascadia, if you have the space to store water, we recommend storing some water, and you'll want to rotate through that water. But again, maybe you go camping once a year and you can take take some of that stored water and then replace it so that it's getting used, right? However that rotation system works for you. If you are making a kit for your car, I do keep a little water in my car because I can drive in my car and I don't have to haul it, If I'm making a go kit in a bag and I don't want to carry a lot of weight, I'm going to use a water filtration system. So I have a water filtration system that I use backpacking, but you can get those life straws that are very reasonably priced. You can get a water bottle with a life straw that goes directly in it, and those will all work. You can also get tablets to help purify your water, and we have a great pamphlet from our public health department that talks about how you can use even a little bit of bleach to purify water. So I know, but it talks about the amounts to put in based on the amount of water. And that is also a way that you can purify water. And so you could carry a small bottle of bleach and a little dropper. You can use one of those filtration systems, and you can always boil water as well. So there's lots of ways. And normally we are a rain heavy location, and so in theory we will have access to some water, but you're going to want to plan like you aren't going to have access.
So let's talk about volunteers. Do you utilize volunteers with emergency management?
We do, yeah. We have a couple different ways that folks can volunteer. We have our CERT teams, which are our community emergency response teams. Those are sort of organized throughout the county. There are a couple different groups. There's one in North. We have one in Depot Bay, Central, South, and East. And then we have a teen CERT through our school district. So we have lots of CERT groups that you can choose from. You can find information about them on our website. They are all housed, many of them are housed under their fire departments, but the application process is through the county. So you can apply online, and then we get you in touch with the CERT leader and help you find a CERT training, which we just offered CERT training. We're in the process of offering CERT training all up and down the county right now. So there's lots of options if you want to go, if you are in there right now. But they'll come back around. They come around about once a year, and then you can get engaged with those groups. And they train folks. They have regular meetings. A lot of them do community events and do a lot of different fun activities that way. We also have a medical volunteer group called the Medical Reserve Corps, the MRC. And if you are a medical professional and would like to be a part of our Medical Reserve Corps team, you can also apply on our website. And then we get you in touch with our public health folks, and we have regular meetings, and we do regular team building activities and trainings, basic life support, those kinds of things for that group. And then we do have emergency management volunteers that we have onboarded already. We are not currently seeking additional volunteers, but that window could come open again, and you can always find information about that on our website as well.
So are there any other events or activities? Let's remind folks as we're wrapping up what things you have going on.
Yeah, we have one more event that we'll be attending. It's this Saturday, April 18th at the Toledo Fire Department, and it's a Prepare Fair. So Toledo will be hosting public safety agencies and other preparedness agencies with a variety of tables, and emergency management will be there. The event runs from 10 to 2, and we would love for people to come say hi to us and learn more about preparedness.
And then you have another one, the Pacific Power Wildfire is on the
23rd. Yep, that's Thursday the 23rd, 6 p.m. And that one's in Lincoln City at the Community Center / Recreation Center.
And folks can learn more about this and other emergency preparedness item and upcoming events on your website and Facebook page.
Yes, absolutely. Please find us on Facebook, Lincoln County Emergency Management. We post everything there. We also have a website with a What's Happening Now link on the left side, so you can click that and kind of check out what we've got going on. Wonderful.
All right. Sam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiera, and thank you, human being.
Yes. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'm very passionate about emergency preparedness.
Me too.
So, thank you for watching. I'm Kiera Morgan. This has been Coffee with Kiera, sponsored by Human Being in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101, in Lincoln City at the north end of the highway on the west side next to TLC Credit Union. Again, thanks for joining me for Coffee with Kiera. I'm Kiera Morgan.